Hello, hello. Hello, hello. Can everybody hear me? Go ahead and drop in the chat if you can hear me. This is my first time using the Circle platform, so forgive me if you cannot, because I can't hear you. All I can do is look at the chat, and I think I can get y'all to ask your questions. So thank you for you guys who have dropped in already, just getting started. So go ahead and drop. I know a few of y'all, like Shanita is in Florida. Go ahead and drop where you're from. Hello, hello, hello. So again, you're going to have to forgive me because I have to see how I can hear y'all, but it's good. We're just working through this thing. And let me know if you can see my screen. Go ahead and let your girl know if you can see my screen. You already said you can hear me. ATL, all right. Louisiana, Milwaukee, okay. Love it. Love it, love it, love it. So I am trying to, again, see how I can hear you guys. I don't want to be the only one to walk in. So on your end, let me know if you can, like, press something to show to display your mic or to speak. We're going to get better. We're going to get better. That's why this was kind of like the initial questions, answer your questions. If we got to do it via type, then that's how we're going to do it. Just let me know if you can, like, let yourself talk. As crazy as that sounds. Okay, no problem. So what we're going to do today, and thank you all for that have shown up early. What we're trying to do is get some of these questions answered after I kind of go over who I am, what I do, why I love all of y'all, why I want to get y'all to this GovCon shmoney. As someone said that in my other live, my Instagram live on yesterday, but it's GovCon money, GovCon shmoney. And of course, you can buy into my course, which teaches you about 3-tier contracting. But also, you can set up a consultation with me if you're like, hey, Sheena, I just need to know what I need to do. I'm not necessarily interested in a course. I'm not necessarily interested in, all 3 tiers. You are looking to get started, looking to get your questions answered. I also do consultations. And for those of you who found me through Instagram, I answer questions in my DMs as well, just as much as I can. So let's go ahead and explain what 3-tier contracting is for those who don't know. And if you're in the IT field, especially, you're probably thinking like, okay, 3-tier, like tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, which is kind of true in on the corporate side, because a lot of times the corporate agencies, they want like a large business to work on a contract or to service a contract, but then they also have to hire smaller businesses or diverse businesses. So in respect to like corporate contracting, that's kind of true that they use the different tiers, but generally speaking, I just use that as my way of telling y'all that you could do 3-tier contracting. So what that is federal contracting. So federal contracting is when you register in SAM.gov, you get your UEI number, you get your cage code, you bid on contracts or provide an RFP, which is a request for proposal, or an RFQ for a request for a quote, or sometimes an invitation for bid, which is called an ITB. You can do that on the federal side, doing it with or submitting for Department of Defense, Department of Energy, USDA, like you name any federal agency, Department of Interior, all those federal agencies. And so you would have to register in SAM in order to provide services for them. Now, on the local side, some of those agencies cross over to local, which is local and state is the same thing, right? So if you are working with the USDA may have a state regulated location. For example, I bid on a janitorial contract for USDA, right? But it was a state contract for the farmers market. So some of those cross over just depending on which agency it is. Very few, but some of those who operate at a local level, they will be considered local and federal. So don't get too confused. Don't get too hung up on that. But just in case you're like, Sheena said USDA was federal, like, nah, it's really both when it comes to USDA and a few others. So local is state, county, city, school system, and I think they have HBCUs in there some kind of way, but that's also with the school system. So it's a little tricky because school system is the public school system, some private schools, some charter schools, and also colleges. They'll have their own system for you to register in, but it's still considered state, local money. All right. So you got federal contracting, number one. Well, not number one, meaning the best, but number one, and what I'm explaining. Number two is local contracting. And then three is corporate contracting. And I kind of alluded to that a little bit earlier, where the corporate contracting is supply diversity goals. Not always supply diversity in respect to your race or your gender or your sexual orientation. It may just be for local businesses. For those who are familiar with like Coca-Cola and how they use local bottlers in order to get their product out fast, they use local small businesses typically to do all of their bottling. So they send this syrup to whomever they need to send it to. And, you know, that local bottling company will bottle it and ship it out to whatever area they're near. So anyone have any questions so far? If this is this good information, then you go ahead and give me like a thumbs up, a one of these emojis. I don't know what it's called with the hands up. Let me know if this is good information so far. We're only 9 minutes in. I can't wait to hear y'all's questions. I'm so excited. Just let me know. And I'm using a new mic today, so forgive me if it sounds crazy. Okay, clap. I got a clap from Shanika. Come on, who else? Thumbs up, fire. Yes, Shanita. Look, Shanita says she wants to be my biggest success story. Okay? She is in there. She is following up on everything. She is asking questions almost daily, and I love it. I welcome it because that means she's doing the work, and she's trying to do the work, you know, expeditiously. Thank you, Danielle, for the thumbs up. Adrian, thank you. So corporate contracting, like I said, if it's a local company or a diverse company, small company, meaning if you are a woman, if you are a minority, if you are LGBTQ, if you are, what is the other one? There's a few others like Pacific Islander, Hub Zone, those types of things. The corporate agency has an agenda to utilize small, diverse businesses to sub out work to or to give work to. Okay. So can anyone think of any corporate agencies right now? Just throw them in there. Ain't no such thing as like, oh, this is too goofy to put in the chat. Go ahead and let me know what corporate agencies you know, maybe even in your area. What corporate agencies? So here we have Coca-Cola. This is the home of Coca-Cola. Of course, you know, this is where it was invented. I'm acting like I'm from Atlanta. I'm not really originally from Atlanta. But this is the home of Coca-Cola, and I've been here for almost 20 years. So think of any corporate agencies you can think of. Don't get too caught up on like, what's corporate? Microsoft, yes, that's a corporate agency. They want to receive some sort of service from diverse suppliers, which is you all, once you get, you know, whether you get registered as with your certification or not. Yes, Wells Fargo. Yes, a lot of times they want cleaning done in their facilities, right? They want cleaning done. They need landscaping. Most of my stuff is going to be related to facilities. So, but they also need other things, right? They need they need to buy plants from a location. Yes, Frito-Lay, that's a really good one. Any corporate agency that you can think of, especially if they're publicly traded, typically they're going to be corporate agencies that have a supply diversity goal. That's the same thing as corporate contracting. So corporate contracting, supply diversity goal, kind of use those in the same breath. So Frito-Lay may need plastic or whatever they put the chips in. They may need a someone to clean up their warehouse that where they manufacture. Well, I guess do they manufacture whatever assembly line that they have is going to be in a warehouse. They may not own that warehouse. I'm not sure 100%. But even if they do, they probably outsource the cleaning and stuff like that. I actually had a chance to go to Cargill. I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with Cargill, but it's like it's a company that uses wheat and salts and chocolate. They sell it to other companies who use those resources. And like literally, I went to a chocolate factory in Hershey, Pennsylvania. So that was pretty cool. But before they were in the chocolate factory, they were actually cleaning themselves. They were cleaning their facilities themselves, which is highly not recommended. I would not recommend that for such a large warehouse. But they were looking to further, they were looking to outsource that because it was right in the middle of COVID. So they realized they couldn't really keep up with the cleaning of that facility. And it was nasty. It was nasty, very, very yucky. So I'm kind of glad I didn't get that one. But as far as corporate contracting, it's a little bit more challenging sometimes to get into corporate contracting because there is no regulation that holds the companies responsible for doing work with diverse suppliers. They are completely risk adverse, whereas the federal and local government, especially the federal government, they have like an obligation of a percentage and to give opportunities to small businesses, small diverse businesses. Same thing with the local side. It's kind of like, you know, high level regulation, mid level, and basically no level of regulation at the corporate side. So did anybody know that? Anybody not know about corporate contracting? Say, oh my goodness, OMG, if you didn't know. I think Shanita knows because she's been all up and through this course. If you didn't know about corporate contracting, let a sister know. It's one of my favorite topics because a lot of people don't know about it and a lot of people do not teach it. But during COVID, I was going hard in the paint for corporate contracting. Like I was going to all the meetings, the industry days, all those. I was really, really trying to get some contracts. So I was able to get some site visits, which is not easy to get. You got to really massage them and beg them and plead in order to get just a site visit, which is way different than federal and local, if anybody's been to any site visits. Yeah, so that's a really good point. Thank you, Danielle. You didn't know. So corporate contracting may be a better lane for you, especially if you get a connection from another friend. You're a newbie. That's good. We like newbies up in here. We love it. I love it. I love it because you just, it's all fresh. It's all new, but just don't get overwhelmed. So Shanique had a good point. They are scaling back the diversity and inclusion. That's a really good observation because, you know, during the height of all the riots and George Floyd era, I call it that, and that's not to be disrespectful, but it's more so identifying a period of time where a lot of agencies had diversity and inclusion in their agency, but they did not expound on it or they did not do anything about it until that time period, which was COVID / you know, George Floyd era riots, you know, civil unrest. So they're scaling back now because they're either not trying hard enough, they're not finding the suppliers that they say they need. They're saying they're not finding the suppliers that they need in order to perform services, but who knows? Who knows what they're really doing? So I just want to kind of give you those 3 tiers of contracting. That is what I teach. That is what I talk about on my Instagram and, of course, on my LinkedIn. So those are my 2 biggest social medias. And for those who don't know me, Sheena Parker, aka Sheenapreneur. I started my company 6 years ago, Foresight Industries, and I was pretty successful right out the gate without any knowledge, any information, didn't know what I was doing, but I knew enough that I had to read and then produce a product. And the product was the submission of the documentation, right? So I knew if I just read it, provided what they needed, we'll see what happens, and I'll ask what I did wrong moving forward. So since I was pretty successful at the beginning, it's so funny because I think the divine intervention made me successful, because I probably wouldn't have believed that it was attainable otherwise. First contract, bid on it. I won out the gate. I actually had to cancel that contract because I bid way too low and I couldn't find anyone to perform that service. Okay, no problem. Went out there and bid again. Second contract, but first serviced contract was 6 figures. Okay, over $100,000. So I was like, I'm about to be balling, like I'm rich, you know. I was still working full time. So $100,000 in, you know, a job that I was not actually performing the work on was a miracle to me. So, I mean, I was here for it. And then my third contract, bid on that and then won. So the first 3 I bid on, I won. I thought it was going to be a breeze forever. The story didn't quite go like that over the past 6 years, but it has been very, very beneficial to me and my family. I have been able to retire from the military. I thought I was going to stay in for 100 years because I was a signal warrant officer. For those who don't know, in the Army, signal warrant officer is a specialty officer that particular avenue that you go, people stay in for like 40 years, literally. And I thought I was going to be in for 40 years. Because I was going to be an old crusty warrant officer. But once my business started taking off with these contracts, since I was a whore, okay. That's an Army term. For those who were in the military, that's an Army term. I thought, when I was transitioning out, okay, 92 Alpha, I believe that's supply. Let me know if that's supply. Any other veterans in here or any other service members, go ahead and say whatever your call sign is in there or what branch you were in or still in. So I was also a DOD civilian. So as a reservist, I had a lot of active duty time, but then I was a DOD civilian, which means you're a civilian who works on a military base, basically. Hey, James, Air Force, I guess you are right, but you know, still good with me. And let me know your specialty too, James. In the Air Force, let me know your specialty if you care to share. So 20 years, I was like, I'm at a crossroads now. I was already in business in year 2020 is when I became a DOD civilian. And I had been in business for 3 years already, but then COVID hit. So basically I was kind of separated from, you know, my employees, not even my employees, but like my coworkers, my supervisors, and they were really trying to hang on to me as a civilian for sure. I came off of active duty in 2019. So in 2020, I became a DOD civilian, and they were trying to hold on to your girl. I mean, trying to hold on to me. And a long time ago, a mentor, I don't even know who it was. You know, sometimes you have a memory, but you don't know where you got it from. But I had someone tell me that when you are working full time and you have a business, you will reach a point when you have to make a decision. You will be at a crossroads. And I reached that crossroads. It was either the military or my business, and I chose my business. And of course, it has been absolutely phenomenal throughout that transition and after retirement. It's pretty beautiful to have a retirement disability come in every month. I'm one of the lucky ones. I did get out of the military twice. So it ain't like I said, oh, this is great forever. I was like, I'm out of here. And then I'm like, I'm just kidding. I'm back. It's rough out here in the real world. I'm coming back to the military. That's so crazy to say. But so I did 20 years. I was a DOD civilian 2 separate times for a very short period of time each. So because I'm a service member, of course, I have the SDVOSB, which is the Service Disabled Veteran-Owned Small Business Certification. Obviously, woman-owned certification. I am applying for my 8A. So the 8A is a tricky one, and I want to talk about that a little bit more. I'm sure someone's going to have a question about that. But the 8A is like the closest thing you can get to a minority certification for those who don't know. So we got James was an aircraft electrician. That's dope. Okay. And George, you are 92 Fox. I wonder if is that food service? I want to say that's food service. Let me know if I'm right. So do we have any questions so far? Questions. I don't want to just breeze through this and you guys are like, Sheena's just rambling on and on and on. I want to start getting some of these questions in, and then some of the questions lead to more questions. I haven't figured out how to get y'all to talk, but this is just the intro live. We're going to continue these lives, and you all will be able to, you know, join in, tell your friends, all these things. So I'm just excited for you guys that are here, and I'm excited to answer your questions. Okay, so Danielle, SDVOSB and service, and I have a service contract right now that I'm ready to bid on. I need help with the bidding process. Okay, so is it a federal contract, Danielle? If it is I'm assuming it is if you're mentioning your SDVOSB certification, and good for you for getting your certification, because I know that was not an easy task. I'm not sure if you paid someone. But I believe if you are able to do your own certifications, you'll be able to bid on your own stuff pretty easily. So Danielle, needed help with the bidding process. Of course, if it's something that, you know, you just need to read over and you have specific questions, I'm happy to help. Okay, yes, a federal contract, Danielle says. So I'm happy to help. I just, you know, some of those contracts are super long and all those things. So you would need to identify specifically what you need help when it comes to the bidding. All on your own. Good job. So Danielle was able to get her certification by herself, and that's one of the more challenging certifications to get, especially in the, I don't know if you got it after January with the new system. Let me know if you did, because I want to know how that was, because I was already in the old system when they transferred over. So Shanito, number one mistake as a new person. Ooh! I want to say number 1, 2, and 3 is you don't treat it like a business. Just remember, your business is your business and the government is your client. That's it. So you can't just jump out here like, oh yeah, I'm going to do all my own accounting and my own bookkeeping, and I'm going to do the work, and I'm going to answer all the emails and all these things. That is dangerous. You got certified last week, Danielle, YouTube University. So you'll be fine when you go to bid on your contracts, because you are, you know, picking up what's being explained to you. And I'm not saying that no one else can. I'm just saying that people usually get intimidated. So good for you, Danielle. But going back to Shanita's question, number one mistake for a new person is not treating it like a business. And I would probably say a close number 2 is not knowing how you're going to fund it. Now you can go out here like me and ask for an advance. My first service contract at 100,000, over 100,000, I got an advance. It has never happened after that. I've never been able to get an advance after that. I'm like, when is the day that I'm going to be able to get an advance when I ask for it? But it was just, it was all divine. That's the reason why I was able to service that contract. It was all divine, because otherwise I would not have been able to do it. So the close second is finance. Not to say that you need to have a whole lot of money, because there's ways that you can maneuver that process. I've explained that a couple of times in some of my videos on YouTube. But basically those 2 are the biggest ones. Okay, so Joy has a question. So when you say, okay, for me, my 6-figure, did they pay you on a pay schedule like once a month? Excellent question. So I'm in facilities management. So I can either go, if you've heard of like 5-year contracts with option years, that means that you are awarded a 5-year contract. First year is pretty much guaranteed unless you mess up. And then each year they can renew you for an option year, right? So if that is the case, and you got, say it's janitorial, and I have a day porter, which is a janitor that works, we changed our term from janitor to custodial engineer for our team. But that janitor custodial engineer that works every day, that would be a every month invoice, right? So that's clear. But for this particular one, it was replacement of 8 fire stations, flooring for 8 fire stations for a county. So this wasn't even a federal contract. And they paid me it's kind of tricky because it took us like 3 months to do it. So I got the advance, luckily. And then they paid me like a milestone pay. So we finished like 2 fire stations in 1 month. I invoice for those 2 fire stations. So you got to kind of break down the cost too. So say it was a straight 100,000. Forget the advance. Say it was a straight $100,000 that the contract was worth, right? Then if, let's say it was 10 fire stations and I finished 2, then I would invoice for those 2 at any point that I am finished. Does that make sense? Let me know if I need to explain that differently. But for me, that's just one example. But typically they're milestone contracts, milestone payments where they pay you based on your milestone, where you are in the process. They don't expect you to wait until a year to get your money. Usually if it's anything over 30 days, it's going to require a milestone. Okay, Shanita's question. A lot of us are operating solo, meaning we don't have the staff or partner helping us. So what are some of the best practices for building a business? Okay, great question, because when I started, I was Sheena solo dolo. Okay, everything was me. And so I would say you'll get to a point, especially once you start bidding on winning contracts. Let me say, maybe if you are solo dolo, no partner, no child to help you, like a teenager that can help you, if it's just you and you know you only have you right now, you can't hire, I would say don't hire anyone until you win a contract. Now, when you win a contract, hire someone, an admin person, part-time, even if it's 10 hours per week. I wouldn't even say get an intern, because interns are they move around too much and they may not be a good fit. So find someone that's a good fit on Indeed and have them work part-time. Especially if you're working full-time and you're trying to do this, just scrape away $100 a week. Whatever $100 a week can get you, okay? Then that will help to ease some of the stress of the admin work, okay? That would be one of the first things I do. Another thing is, if you're using QuickBooks, well, really any system that you're using, get your bookkeeping in line as early as possible. Because once all the contracts start coming in, trying to go back is going to be super expensive. I'm talking super expensive. Okay. So bookkeeping to start, not necessarily you. I think Shanita is an accountant. So she's like, I got this, but it gets overwhelming once you start getting into multiple contracts, especially like for me in my state of Delaware contract, I have like 7 buildings. So those all have to be separated as well. So it's not just like state of Delaware as my invoice. It has to be each location. So that becomes very cumbersome when you start getting into multiple contracts. Cool. Shanique question, bit of an outlier here. I want to actually learn how to write contracts, RFPs and RFIs, and do that as a consultant for the. Did we talk, Shanique? Did we talk? I feel like you were overseas, right? If so, just give me a thumbs up. I have grant writing skills and I want to take it up a notch. Is there a need for this type of consultation? All right, y'all hear that? Even for the replay, for those who watch this later, Shanique Clark, and I'm sure you're on LinkedIn, Shanique, she says she got skills. Like if you write grants, then you write RFPs, RFIs. I promise you. I promise. That is so rare and so needed. You might get a little overwhelmed by how many people would need your services. You already have the skills. Clearly, you know how to read, and that's no disrespect. And I want to make sure that everything I'm saying, I'm a jokester for those who know me. Oh, we didn't meet? Okay. Tell me, I said thank you. So my cousin Shamir, she's always my biggest fan. But yes, that is absolutely a need, Shanique. Please explore that however you need to explore it as a consultant. That's needed on both sides. So you can actually go about that the route of helping small businesses with RFPs, RFQs, RFIs, and then also agencies. Because Lord, once you start looking at these contracts, these solicitations, these bids, you're going to say, are these people, they just copied and paste, and they'll even leave some of the old verbiage from a different agency in their documents. So you would be a fantastic asset to businesses and to agencies. So let me know if that makes sense. And short answer, absolutely, your skills are needed. Long answer is, how far do you want to go? You're probably gonna have to start hiring staff to help you with that. Okay, William's question. How long after a submitted registration will the cage code be provided? Also, oh, you guys are coming in with that. All right. I'm sorry. Hey, William say, hey, he's looking for your services. Girl, you in the right place. How long after you submit a registration will the cage code be provided? Also, can I submit proposals without a cage code? I have my UEI. So, William, if you're talking about federal contracts only, the answer is no. It should be pretty quick. And hopefully you are paying attention to your email, because I want to say when I registered 1,000 years ago, they send an email like this. How the same registration kind of goes like this. When you register, you submit all your information into the site. You go to the DSBS, like the link at the end, the DSBS link. And then if anything doesn't match up or is incorrect or incomplete, then when you go to apply for your cage code, the cage gods, I don't know what they're called, the cage people will send you an email saying you need to change all these things, this, and this in 48 hours. I remember being like so stressed about that. So hopefully that has changed. But if you're not paying attention to your email and it's been like weeks, then there's something wrong. And you need to try to go back into your SAM to make sure that you actually submitted it properly. There's a chance that maybe you didn't finish. And so, because I think the UEI is automatic as soon as you like go in there, if I'm not mistaken, because the UEI is also after I started my registration. So if you are like, man, it's been like a week or 2 or 3, I haven't heard anything about my cage code, then I will go back into SAM to make sure that you submit it. Okay. Joy said that makes sense. Is LinkedIn good for networking? Oh, yes. Let me tell you why. Yes, it is a professional network. And you can talk directly to like agencies and corporate CEOs. Let me tell you a quick story. Like I'm a beat my chest on this one, right? Because I was so proud of how good LinkedIn worked for this specific scenario. So peep this, right? There I was in a program. Well, it was more like a certification program. It's called Disability In. Disability In is a certification program for disabled persons and for service disabled veterans. So I was in that program. They helped me get the site visit with Cargill. They were really good. And so they will send an email or send out PR stating that certain companies, certain large corporations that we all know and love are in, right? So it'll say T-Mobile is in, Boeing is in, AT&T is in, meaning that they care about disabled persons, disabled veterans, blah, blah, blah. So I had been reaching out to a whole bunch of corporations trying to get just a conversation started. Here's what Foresight Industries provides. Can we at least get a conversation? That's kind of how corporate contracts work, right? So I had been reaching out to T-Mobile because I've been wanting to work at T-Mobile since I was a teenager. I just want to work in the back, stalking the phones. I don't want to talk to customers. I just want to work in the back and look at the phones, like literally. That sounds crazy, but for real. So I was a T-Mobile fan. I've been with T-Mobile for almost 20 years personally, when they really used to be pretty bad at service. So that was like one that I had my laser focus on. So there was an PR of T-Mobile is in, and showed the CEO on there, like saying that they just support disabled persons and disabled veterans. And I'm like, I went right to LinkedIn in his DMs and his LinkedIn DMs and was like, hey, I've been reaching out to T-Mobile for whatever, 6 months and have not gotten an answer. Now, this is the CEO of T-Mobile, the guy that wears the pink t-shirt, right? I said, blah, 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 very tactful. That email was fantastic. That message was fantastic, if I must say so myself. But I was tactful, but just saying, hey, I'm just confused that T-Mobile says they're in, but I have not been able to get any type of response. He messaged me back same day, and within that time frame, within the same day, same 24 hours, I had an email from like 3 T-Mobile high-level executives saying, hello, Sheena. Heard you wanted to talk to us. Let's schedule an appointment. Just like that. That's my LinkedIn story. So it was like really, really useful. I've reached out to other like companies that were not as large, but like large companies that I had an issue with their staff or their program or their service that I purchased, and I was able to talk to the CEO directly. So I know that was a very long answer, but short answer is yes, LinkedIn is fantastic for networking with your peers, with agencies, with corporations, and just checking people out. You know what I mean? It's like this person, make sure your LinkedIn is top notch. And my LinkedIn is top notch. I ain't gonna lie to you because I learned the hard way when it looks crazy. So make sure that your LinkedIn is top notch, and then also look for people and just reach out to them. A lot of people don't like LinkedIn. Those who know, and it's a great way to communicate. Long answer. Did y'all like my story? Because I thought that was like dope. All right. So, yeah, at the end, Shanique, let's share, all of us share our LinkedIn at the end if you want to share. So, James, do I actually have to physically go out and do the work? The reason I asked is because I got introduced to GovCon through the middleman. Ooh. Listen, if we're going to be friends, don't use the term middleman anymore. Let's dead that. At least when you're talking to me. If you're talking to somebody else, cool. But that strategy is hella dangerous. And the reason why I say that is because two things. You can go out, get a contract, and not do the work. Obviously, I'm not doing the work that for my contract in Philly, which is the Philadelphia Phillies Stadium. Obviously, I'm not cleaning in Delaware. Obviously, I'm not cleaning in Tennessee or anywhere else that we have in the Atlanta area. So I don't like the middleman method because it makes people think that all they have to do is send somebody to a location and then they sit back and send the invoice. Now think about it like this. You have a company, right? James, let's say you have a janitorial company. Keep it easy. And you bid on a contract because Shanique hooked you up and you bid on something. James, I didn't see where you were from, but let's say you live in Atlanta and you bid on something. Wherever you're from, I'm sure you're not in Alaska. You bid on something in Alaska. You find somebody, never meet them. Hey, can you go out and perform that janitorial service for me? Think about how that sounds. You don't know them. They don't know you. They're not obligated to be loyal to you. And you don't know their business ethic. They could suck terribly. And then they're representing your company. So I've had people come to me saying they did the middleman strategy, crying, saying that the company, the subcontractor that they use or the company that they use disappeared off the face of the earth because they messed up somehow and they don't want to face the music, but they're a sub, so they're not being held accountable. Only the prime is being held accountable, which is the person who put the subcontractor in place. So if you want to use any type of strategy, subcontract. That's all it really is. But when you say middleman, it becomes muddy because especially at the federal level, you have to perform a certain percentage of your contracts. By law, your contract will be canceled if you do not follow that regulation. Okay. So I hope I answered that question for you. And if it didn't make sense, say, okay, well, what about this? I don't mind the follow-on questions, James. Okay, Shanita, for my contract, Sheena's contract, did I hire individuals on Indeed or is it better to contract with the company? If you are looking to contract with a company, how do you approach them to build a relationship? So for my first contract, I was in real estate at the beginning. I was in real estate since 2014. So 2014, and it kind of bled over to 2017. I was a landlord, had 7 properties, and was renovating, flipping, all the stuff that everybody was doing, right? And so I had a contractor, and I used my contractor from real estate to government contracting because I wanted to stay in something like that. And it was the facilities management was the closest thing to basically house renovation. I wasn't a real estate agent. I wasn't a real estate broker. So it was just easier for me to facilities management, which is basically like renovating, janitorial, even litter pickup, grounds maintenance, floor repair, painting, drywall, roof repair. So it was just in alignment with that. So I used he was a company. He had his own company. He had his own welders. He had all kinds of staff already. So he was a person I used for my first few contracts. as I moved along with certain contracts, I did use Indeed. I really only used Indeed unless someone was sent to me from somewhere else, like some kind of veteran organization or a friend. But I'm very careful with that because I'm serious about my business. So I don't care if you're my sister, my mama. And for the record, everybody in my family has at least touched a broom. My kids, husband, mom-in-law, sister-in-law, brother-in-law, everybody that's in this Atlanta area where I live has touched the broom with Sheena, with Foresight Industries, okay? So you can even do that if it makes sense. Sometimes it doesn't make sense. So I hope that answered your question. So yes, I don't mind you all sharing LinkedIn at the end when we're finished, just so we don't get this all mixed up. And so how much weight does the SDVOSB cert hold? So again, the SDVOSB certification is a service-disabled, veteran-owned small business certification, right? So that is a powerful certification because, of course, you can only get it if you're a veteran. Like literally, that's it. And you can get sole sourced through SDVOSB. So other certifications, you can't really get sole sourced. It gets a little, the verbiage gets a little confusing, but 8A, if you've heard of 8A, the number 8, letter A, certification, sole source. SDVOSB certification, you can get sole source from the VA, Veterans Affairs. I'm not saying that it's easy, but I'm just saying that it can be, you can get sole source that way. So as far as weight, it really depends. What I find is that me in Atlanta, I haven't really been offered any sole source opportunities as an SDVOSB. My friend, Stephanie, who, if any of you watch my videos, I help my friend get to 1 million. She's in the Northeast and she gets calls and emails all the time about sole sourcing contracts as an SDVOSB. So I really think it depends on your area. I find that here especially in Atlanta, they really love 8As. Up north, it seems like they like SDVOSBs. I have another friend, business associate, who's an SDVOSB, and he has the Veterans Affairs Hospital on lock. On lock. It's hard to get into the ones in New York because he does all construction there. So yes, so it holds some weight. So let's see, T. I want to know what your name is, T, but it's okay. Is there a place where Black and DBE can meet, collaborate? So that's more of a business networking question. So they have chambers of commerce, like the Black chambers. It's literally Black chambers, not burr. Black chambers of commerce. They actually have a veterans department as well. So if anybody was interested in that, they have a pretty good system, system that they're working to build. And as far as the DBE, there's conferences for DBE certified. So the DBE is disadvantaged business enterprise, which is typically it could be minority or any other type of disadvantaged persons. So a DBE conferences and networking events, I would say start there because most of those people are either looking to be DBE certified or they already are. And then there's agencies that are talking about it who appreciate DBE certified companies. So that would be a good place to look. You can literally Google DBE networking event or networking events for disadvantaged businesses. Okay, do that. Matter of fact, I would rather for you guys to do it like now. Pull out your phone, and if that's what you're looking for, networking events, insert whatever it is you're looking for, whether it's veteran owned, whether it's DBE, whether it's anything like that, then I would say look it up in order to find what location or what networking event you would want to go to. Is there a Discord or Reddit group to collab with contracts? I'm not sure I understand the question. Torin, US Air Force. Okay, I love it. I love it. Even though you're not the Army, it's still cool. But I'm not understanding the question for the Discord or Reddit group to collab with contracts. So moving on to Shanita's question. For us looking to get our first bid, do we need to start networking with local government or focus on understanding the bid proposal process, or both. So understanding is relative, right? All of us here can read, right? I don't think there's anyone here that cannot read. All you got to do is pull a solicitation based on your industry. Shanita and I in the same industry. So you could just pull something for facility management. And those who are, matter of fact, everybody who's on here who already has a business or they already know what industry they want to go into, please drop it in the chat. And if you don't drop it, just if you don't have a business, just say still looking or still trying to figure it out. And if you don't answer, I'm going to call you out. I'm going to at you. I'm going to at you like they used to do on Twitter, okay? Or they still do, I guess. I'm not on Twitter like that. So it's hot, y'all. I'm sorry. So I would say understanding the bidding process is really just reading and submitting the information that the agency is looking for. Okay, don't overthink it. I love my smart people because the smart people be overthinking this. Just submit the documents that they are that they're asking. Okay, William said everything. There's no way you can do everything. Okay, let me ask you this, William. So if you got an electrician to come to your house and they say, look, I do everything. I do electrical, I do hair, I have a daycare, I do woodwork, I'm a computer scientist, I'm a medical doctor, I'm a dentist. You'd be like, huh? Let me know if that would make sense. Let me know if you want a doctor who also does 57 other things and they're not focused on one thing, or at least, a couple of things. You're kicking them out. Exactly. That's exactly what the government's going to say to you, right? I'm glad you understood that, because you can't do everything. I would say focus on one thing or maybe two, because I know there's some serial entrepreneurs out there like I was. But then there's a lot of industries that have sub-industries, just like mine and Shanita's, right? Facilities management, facilities maintenance, facility support services, whatever you want to call it, has several things underneath. So it's not like I'm just focused on this one thing, like just electrical. I'm focused on a few things that involve, interior and exterior building maintenance, right? So, so you look to get your first way to start network. So I would say, as far as the networking piece, always network from beginning all the way through, because you never know what a conversation will get you. You just never, ever know. So Danielle, I qualify for other certs. Are they necessary already being? Yes, get all the certifications you can. Now, the VOSB is not a certification. It's basically a classification for veterans who are not service disabled. And then the woman-owned, yes, that's one of the easiest ones to get. You just got to submit your information saying you are, who you say you are, and you are a female, and submit your stuff on the certified.sba website. So please, yes, always try to get any certification that you have access to, especially on the federal side, because they're free. So makes sense. James said, going back to the example about having janitorial contract in Alaska, I live in Atlanta. Okay, whoop whoop to Atlanta. How would I be in compliance with the percentage of work that I have to do? Literally, you have to be in compliance. So say you have a contract, a service, let's just say a service disabled, I don't know, and you have to perform 51% of the work. Now, construction is like you have to perform at least 20%. So everything that's included in that job, using construction, for example, your superintendent, your supervisor needs to be on the prime contractor's payroll. The payroll, like if I have an admin that's running payroll, that's also a percentage of the contract. You have to write out the percentages. So if you have construction is one of the largest ones, because you can have specialty skills tradesmen who do many things, electrical, welding, all these things in a facility, so they understand it can't just be 40% or 49%. So with that, the compliance is based on whatever your contract, whatever the solicitation says. Now, in the FAR regulation, it'll break it down a lot further. I have not read the FAR regulation, and I never plan to. That thing is way too long. But I would say reference it when it comes to your performance percentage, depending on what industry you're going into, okay? Still figuring it out. Okay, James, no problem. George says exterior cleaning. What is that? Pressure washing? Because that's like my favorite. I love pressure washing. That and litter pickup are like my favorite ones. This is crazy. So yes, you do be overthinking it, girl. Okay, still trying to figure it out. I have a wellness business, yoga and meditation. I don't think there would be contracts for that. I would say the yoga and meditation, Shanique, is more on the local side. I've seen like martial art instructors on the local side for like a school system. So will there be plenty of them? Probably not. But now with the more conscious military, they may include that. Matter of fact, they do have yoga classes at the Veterans Affairs hospitals. So, I mean, there may not be that many, and you would have to, continuously build relationships. But nonetheless, they do have contracts for that at the local and the federal side. And of course, corporate, they always are trying to use resilience to keep the employees going, Okay, Danielle is facility maintenance. I love it. William is still figuring it out. No problem. Okay, networking, Shanita, I love it. And Danielle, I love it. I love it. So T is acquisition management, procurement, e-commerce, transport, delivery, consultant. Started my business in 2021, and I'm switching gears to include government procurements. Army is not bad. Look, so I'm going to ride hard for the Army because I did 20 years. I think you missed my intro. But y'all's food was fire. I'm not going to lie. Like the DFAC, the food was absolutely fire. So you can have that one, but that's it. So as far as you're switching gears to include government procurements, I'm not understanding exactly what that means. So when you say acquisition management, procurement, like when you're saying procurement, are you saying that you're going to be providing like guidance on that as a consultant? Explain that a little bit more. So massage is a tricky one because some Veterans Affairs hospitals do include massage. Well, not the hospitals, but they outsource it. And this is all new. So if you can get a Veterans Affairs clinic or something to connect with you, or you connect with them saying that you provide massage services, they have them. I'm just not sure where. So, okay, boom. That's a great question. I used to actually have a massage studio. Oh my God, I've had so many businesses. Crazy. But yeah, I get it. I went to school for it and everything. So William says, if my NAICS code is not in alignment with the particular proposal I'm submitting, will it hurt my chances of winning the contract? I love that question. Yes and no. So I'll give you a real world example. For me, we bid on a laundry contract, and some of you may have seen my video, but we bid on a laundry contract, and the contracting officer called me and said, you do not have the laundry NAICS code in your profile. You need to add it before I award this contract. Do they do that regularly? I have no idea. My price was so low. That's probably why he was like, I can just have her do that. It's going to save us thousands. But I would say if there's high competition and you don't have your NAICS code in your SAM registration, they may skip over you compared to someone else who maybe has a similar price, similar experience, or whatever the case may be. So I would say lean on the side of having as many, not too many, but as many NAICS codes as you're comfortable with performing. So the NAICS codes and the sub NAICS codes, for example, the facility support services, they have, that includes grounds maintenance, landscaping, janitorial. But sometimes they include janitorial in the facility support services NAICS code, but then janitorial has its own NAICS code. So sometimes it's combined. It just depends. This is a human business. So depending on how the contracting officer feels this solicitation needs to be rolled out is what NAICS code they're going to use. Okay. So we're Shanita, bids. We should be looking at bids and submitting every week. We don't have to know everything, but we do need bids to be successful. That's an interesting question. I would say, so you use the term bids because I use bids a lot, but there's RFQs, RFPs, ITBs, and then also you can just be a subcontractor under someone else where there's a conversation. Oh, you do cleaning? okay, as you know, an associate that you met in passing or you met at an event or however, they may say they want a contract as a prime, but they couldn't do the cleaning part of it. So then they come to you. Now, of course, that can happen at any time, and you can't predict necessarily when that is. But you know, the more networking, the better. Obviously, I'm very much so an introvert, contrary to popular belief. So that was like one of the hardest things for me to hear, is that I had to get out and talk to people. But it makes a difference. I've gotten a couple of contracts just by conversation. So I would say that is a way to be successful as well. And letting people know what you do. Don't be afraid to say what you do. So great. So, okay, did everybody answer? Don't make me scroll back up and see who did not tell me what they do, what they're going to be doing. Shanisha, where you at, girl? Did Joy answer? Adrian, don't just be on here listening. We need some participation too. I didn't see Shanisha and Joy answer what they're going to be doing, I don't think. Correct me if I'm wrong. So, okay, question. So Joy's going to think she's going to do cleaning. So I would say, if you think, then cool. If you're familiar and you possibly have someone that can help you, or you do it by yourself if it's a small enough contract, then I would say absolutely do it. So when you are bidding on your first contract to do the flooring for the fire department, did you collaborate with a contractor to figure out the pricing? Yes. So again, my contractor that I used, he was already in the construction industry. He just wasn't going to do all that paperwork. So that's where I excelled. I bring the paperwork, you do the work, match made in heaven. So he gave me his price, and then I added my price on top. That's how I do. Some people do a split profit. I don't do no split profit if I can help it. I think I may have done split profit once. And split profit is basically like, we know we have to keep it at a price. So we'll both adjust our prices. Like the person that's doing the work and me, we'll adjust our prices in order to split the profit. I don't want to do that. I want you to be comfortable with your price. And then I put my price on top, and you don't know what I'm getting, basically. That's kind of how I like to do it. Cool. So price, knowing your industry is one of the main things. I didn't know my industry very well. I knew it kind of at the residential level doing renovations and stuff like that, but I didn't really know it. And so not knowing it doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to be detrimental to your business. But if you are submitting a proposal, and a lot of agencies, especially at the local level, they'll send everyone's bid information or proposal numbers so everyone can see it. If your number is astronomically different than everyone else, it's kind of like, ooh, you try to hide, like that's embarrassing. You know what I'm saying? So it's not like it's life or death, but you just want to know your pricing so you can eventually train someone to fill in that role for you, so you don't have to submit all these documents yourself. And then have it like a standard pricing where the agency kind of knows what they're getting. Okay. Know what industry is out there that the government might need. Is there a list? So there's really not a list, James. If you think about anything, think about a courthouse. I think everyone has at least been to a courthouse or DMV, Department of Motor Vehicles, a school. Think about all the things that are done in there. Just relax your mind, right? Go here with me. Think about the person who you see or the airport, right? Especially if you're in Atlanta. You see those guys with the hard hats on doing construction. That's government contract. In a school, the person that comes in and waxes the floors that he be wearing headphones, not the janitor necessarily, but he's like in regular clothes, buffing the floor. That's a government, or the hospital. That's a government contract. Providing laptops to schools. That's a government contract. Horticulture, which I'm going to talk about that all the time because I am a plant enthusiast. I have plants everywhere. And that's also a government contract where you provide plants to buildings. If you go into any building, you see, maybe if you're not a plant person, you don't notice, but I notice you'll see plants everywhere. Someone has to come and water those plants, maintain those plants, deliver those plants, providing even training services. If you have ever worked in corporate America and you had to sit through a training and a person just came in from ABC company, you're like, who is this joker? That's a contract. So just think about anything that you can think of connected to a school or a corporate agency or something where it wasn't an employee of that agency or it wasn't an employee of another like federal agency. So if you worked in the military and someone came in from the VA, they're probably an employee of the VA, which is a federal agency, right? But if a random person came in, then that would be considered a government contract. I don't know if anyone remembers when what's that? The money man, that money guy that's on that's on is it MSNBC? I can't think of his name. The one that has a system where it's like you need to not live in debt. I can't think of his name for nothing. But at one point, he was selling his program to everybody, even the military. So the military bought the program, and then they had a service member teach it. But they bought the program. Same thing with P90X. Dave Ramsey, thank you. Like Dave Ramsey was selling information. It's so crazy. He was selling his program to everyone. And everyone bought it. For example, I posted on my LinkedIn and my Instagram today, I believe, Starbucks, right, sold, they won $100 million contract providing coffee to United States troops. Now, by coffee, that means they were setting up their locations in combat zones. Just so soldiers can have a taste of home. That's pretty much what the agenda was. So just think about anything that anyone would need that's a government agency or a corporate agency or that you've seen with your own eyes. I probably over-explained that, but I just want to make sure that that was clear. Cool. Okay. Adrian, human resources consultant, DEI, leadership development training, executive training, travel management, and property management. Woo! Girl, you're doing a whole bunch. So are you working in any of those things now, or are you, this is for Adrian, or are you trying to choose one of those? Let me know. Advantages of the two businesses with certification to link up a contract. The advantage of two businesses with certification to link up on a contract, or not with cert, one with cert and the other without. Makes sense. Yes, that does make sense, Danielle. So that is exactly how people link up. So say there's an 8A company, they can't be SDVOSB because they're not service members. You guys can work together and provide each other services. So if it's a veteran contract, they say, we have the past performance. We can float the contract financially. You're a service-disabled veteran certified company. It's a veteran contract or solicitation. We'll do all the work. And then your certification is going to be what wins the contract. And then we help with the work. Now, remember the percentage of performance that you have to do. So it's either both people, sometimes even with two people having a certification, you guys just might be in different geographical locations. So if my friend, you know, has more past performance than me and she's an SDVOSB as well, then I can, you know, use her information if the contract is here in Atlanta. Let me know if that makes sense. Is there a standard profit margin? So facilities maintenance is way too broad, Shanita, as far as standard profit. I would say on the federal side, dare I say this, the typical, it's atypical. Like it's not typical, but it's atypical. It's kind of typical. Is around 11 to 40%. I'm just going to be honest. That's federal and local. That's all. And you have to kind of know your numbers. So if you know you got cheap labor, I'm talking cheap labor, right? Then you know your profit margin is typically, just by your experience in the industry, or you've been on other contracts and saw the numbers, then you know that your profit margin is usually around 20% because you can get the cheapest labor on earth. That's your percentage. But you know kind of where your cap is. I know for janitorial, like if I want to just barely make a profit because I want to get my foot in the door, that's 10 cents per square foot. That's That's pre-COVID prices. Let me not even put that out ever again. But I know that I will do well if I'm at 50 cents per square foot or more, right? Of course. But then someone else is going to come behind me and bid 8 cents per square foot. They're just basically breaking even with the hopes that they could possibly get more contracts, maybe. So it's kind of like you have to figure it out, to be honest, depending on what actual job you're doing and whether you're using employees versus subcontractors, because employees are going to be a lot cheaper when it's an ongoing thing, or, well, not even an ongoing thing, but like even if it's a one and done, then you know that you can get them for dirt cheap. Then your profit margin is typically going to be higher than using a subcontractor. Okay, so Adrian, you submitted for your EDWSB in 8A. Yes, I love it. Good for you. Your goal is to subcontract for big businesses that need to use small business. I love that. That's great. So is that going to be in those, Adrian, is that going to be in those industries? Okay, you're answering that below. Can social media marketing be a contract? Yes. My good friend Bridget, she does just that. She does contracting. She works with larger companies and she bids on her own contracts doing like social media marketing. So it's not going to necessarily be social media, just that one thing. It might be all marketing or all PR that includes marketing, like where it's like, what's it called? Printed marketing or whatever. I don't know what it's called, but yes, definitely contract. So Adrian, been HR manager for 10 years. Husband is a realtor and managed travel, so it's all in my wheelhouse. I also have a new few former managers, now friends, that could subcontract services. Okay, cool. So you got a plan. That's basically what my questions are. What is your plan? Because if you have all those different things, just think about the government is like, how can this person do all these things? Now, though, what you're explaining is actually kind of like most of the things are related. But the government is going to say, well, you're a new company. Well, you're new to us, right? Like a new to you car. You're new to us. So how can you actually perform all these contracts? Like, how can you do all these different things? And by the way, if you don't have it listed on your website, especially for corporate agencies, they say you don't really do it for real. Because if you think about it, you go to, say, Atlanta Airport, right? Or let's just say Delta out of the Atlanta Airport. That's a corporate agency, right? You say, we have the best pressure washing in the Southeast, and you don't have pressure washing listed anywhere on your website. Are they going to believe you? Probably not. So just look at it from a consumer perspective, and they have they can't mess up, because then they are their job is on the line, and they're gonna have someone asking them, did you vet them? Did you check this? Did you check that? So yes, that's great, Adrian. So you're all in there. So you can do consulting. I know many friends that do consulting, and they do exceptionally well on that side. So any more questions? We got 20 more minutes, and I want to make sure that you guys are getting all your questions answered. Sorry I couldn't get the sound to work, but thank you guys for sticking with me in this format. We've been pretty consistent with the amount of people in here, so you're liking what I'm saying. I love it. And anyone that came in late, this video is going to be posted to the Circle platform. So you made it to the Circle platform, so obviously you're in, and you can check this video out and check out the beginning of the video if you missed anything. So Danielle, any advice for getting help from PTAC? Ooh, child. The fact that you had to ask that question, I'm sure you must not be having the best time with the PTAC. They're not all created equal, I will say that, but they are literally being paid to help you get contracts for free. Make them do their job. I don't know how deep you want to take it. Most people just give up talking to them because they are not helpful for them. I actually, when I first started, had a really good PTAC counselor. He was literally there for 35 years, and he retired right around COVID. So once he left, all that beautiful knowledge went with him, and no one has replaced him since. So I would say make them do their job. They're getting paid, I believe, by the SBDC, which is the Small Business Development Center, to help you with contracts. So make sure also when you're reaching out to them that you're clear about what you're asking. Don't say, can you help me get contracts? Say, okay, look, I am registered here. I have reached out to this, and this person. I've gone through this. Can you help me get in contact with the Department of the Navy port in Savannah, Georgia? Like that type of stuff. Be clear about your ask. And that goes for when you're asking anyone. And that includes, me. I'm pretty flexible, but even if you're like, I don't like Sheena, I want to go to a different person that is teaching government contract, and I just want y'all to win contracts. I don't even care if it's with me or whatever. I would rather you be with me, of course, but if it's not with me, that's fine. So I would say be clear about your ask every single time. The way you guys are asking questions now is perfect. Be very specific, okay, about anyone that you're reaching out to. Don't just say, how can I get this? And spread that word for me, okay? Reach out. Like if you got friends who are like, want to get into government contracting and you listen to this webinar, you're like, oh my God, Sheena is the bomb.com. Then I would love for you to share that same sentiment that I just shared about being very specific on what you're asking, especially if people are giving away their time for free. Then you need to be specific about what you're asking, and you're coming to the table with, okay, let me push up my glasses. Okay. So just be clear about that. Do they find contract? They have, so the one that I was, matter of fact, I got to re-up on my thing, but they have a bid delivery service. So you have to reach out to the PTAC and say, I want to be a part of your bid delivery service, which is they send you different bids every week, month, however, I don't know how frequently, depending on where you are. And they should have something in place, because I don't know if they all use the same system or if all of them even have a system. I'm not sure. But here in Atlanta, we have Georgia Tech. So it's the Georgia Tech PAC, GT PAC. Okay, instead of the PTAC is the overall name. For those who don't know, PTAC is Procurement Technical Assistance Center. So it would be advisable for everyone to find the PTAC in their local area. And I did do a video on how to find the PTAC on my YouTube channel, Sheenapreneur. Just go on YouTube and you'll see where I show how to find the PTAC. Actually, it's not called PTAC anymore. You almost messed me up. It's called Apex Accelerators, okay? Apex Accelerator is a new name for PTAC, but I'm sure if you look for PTAC, it's still going to be out there. But they do have a delivery service where they can send you bids that are available in the local area, okay, usually. So Shanique, where should I start in just learning contracts, RFP? Should I be looking at samples already written? Is there a certain website? There is no website to find previous contracts. Trust me. Now, I will say you might happen upon a contract every blue moon, okay? It depends on your industry. So there has been times where I found an awarded contract for facilities management in freaking Iowa, and I was like, the Lord has shined on me. Now, it's not going to be the same as what you're trying to bid on usually, but there's still some verbiage there, and you just build your verbiage as you go along. So I would say if you're not perfect, yeah, thank you, William. APTAC, that's the website. And T, you're very, very welcome. I really appreciate y'all being here. I know we have it till 7:30, but I'm happy to stay later if anybody needed me, or we could end early. But just to finish off with that, is there's no real website for proposals that have already been written. I used a service called GovSpend at one point. That's why I had to reach out to the CEO, was like, hey, this ain't right, but it's very expensive, very expensive. And to me, it wasn't really worth it because, ooh, excuse me, that was so, I wish I can bleep that out. Sorry. Yeah, it wasn't very helpful for me. So I didn't renew. I think I had it for a year. I didn't renew. I didn't like it because it didn't have, I just wanted contracts only. What they try to do is get you to do something. They want to get you to, the free service for contracts that are already available they want you to kind of work with that. I didn't want none of that. I wanted an awarded proposal, the documents, and I found a few, but it wasn't that helpful. Wow. Okay. Shanita said GovSpend reached out to her today. I'm not saying that they were bad. If you got the money, I believe it was like maybe $2,000. I was like, and that was back when I first started. So I was like, oh no. But I don't think it's worth it necessarily. As you it's not, no, let me say this, it's not bad. It's just be clear every time you use any type of paid service, even with what is it, GovTribe, any of those others, Pipeline, Proposal Helper, be clear that you need them. You may not need them, because if you're bidding on the same thing, yeah, not as a new business. So if you're bidding on the same stuff, some of the stuff is going to become kind of redundant. So you can use virtually the same templates for everything that you're doing. And, you know, once you submit, you can, like, you know, keep that. And then after you get feedback, then you can adjust accordingly. Now you can do an open records request. And I did a video on that, I believe. It's either in the course or on YouTube. I'm sorry, but open records request, where you're requesting the proposals submitted to certain agencies. Now they may not give you the proposals. They may ignore you, but by law, they're supposed to provide, when you have an open records request, the agency is supposed to allow you whatever it is you're asking, whether it's pricing or the proposal or what have you. So I hope that makes sense. So what are you guys going to do? For those who are just new, for those who have already been like building their stuff as they're going along, what are you guys waiting to do? What's your very next step? Go ahead and list it. If you don't listen, I'm gonna call you out. I still ain't heard from Shanisha. I still haven't heard from her. Let me see. Let me call y'all out real quick. Adrian, Danielle, James, Joy, Shanique. Shanita's been all up and through here, so she good. T, William, what are y'all's next steps? I want to hear them. Bid. Okay, Danielle, what are you bidding on? Okay, William, reaching out to the PTAC. What are you going to say? Act like the real action steps. Reach out to the PTAC and be like, hey, give me my free contract. I don't know. And Danielle, what are you bidding on? Let me know. This is great. I love this. Just hoping I can make sure I get the sound next time. Like I said, apologize for that, but you guys have been troopers typing all this stuff in here for me. Joy is driving. Okay, no problem. No problem at all. I'm going to be doing some bid, what's it called? Bid challenges. So, okay, Danielle has an appointment with the APTAC tomorrow. Great. So be specific about your ask. So T, if you want to just give a thumbs up or a side thumb or a thumbs down with your experience with the PTAC, maybe you can go back to them and be specific about your ask if you didn't feel like they worked, you know, they answered your questions. GPC card holders at Air Force Base. Okay. So Adrian says she's at bump all that. She's going to start doing work with the agencies directly using a GPC card, which usually is under a certain threshold. So that's great. So I believe a lot of them are like 3,500, 2,500, which is great because you don't have to go through any bidding. I think I did a video on micro purchase. Yeah, I'm going to post a video about micro purchases, a real quick reel, because it's not really like a method, but that's exactly what Adrian's doing. She's going to be meeting with the card holders, and it's going to be usually under like $5,000, and they just swipe the card just like any other client. So T has a meeting with SBDC. Be specific about your ask. They also are not all created equal. So make them, if they try to tell you, oh, you got to do a business plan, come back with a business plan. Be like, listen, I ain't doing all that. I need help with these 5 things. Yeah, William say, give me my free contract. Yes, say that. No, for real. But be specific about whatever it is you're going to ask. You don't have to share it here, but I would love to hear if you are willing to share what you're going to ask them, because, you know, they get people asking them questions 25-8, and it's usually, how do I get started with contracts? Not to say that you can't say that, but stand out. you know, I've had the SBDC and the PTAC, some of the people wanted to work with me directly, like, hey, Sheena, I'm trying to like work with you. And because I'm very, you know, I'm building my business, not just saying, I want this, you know what I mean? Respectfully. Shanique, next steps, do more research on what contracts look like and stack my money so I can take your course. I'm running a special right now. I think I got like 3 slots left. I probably should have put that picture up, but my code is Flash 2023. Oh, did I type in here? Flash. Oh, I'm so goofy. Flash 2023 is my code. I'm running a special. I think I got 3 spots left for the discount. So I'm just saying. Okay, what's the next thing? So Shanique, you getting there, girl. 10K. What's 10K? I'm sorry, what are we talking about with the 10K? Shanita, waiting to pay local tax and figure out how to submit my first bid. I'm getting insurance quotes and bonding info. Now, Shanita, did I give you the bonding information or did you get it from the course? Shanita's in my course, y'all. So she got all the info. He is the bomb. So if you are working with him, then I'm gonna tone my voice down. But yeah, bonding, insurance, small cities use Demand Star and they charge $5. Listen, are you sure that they charge you? Because I swear, oh yay. So she's using my guy, Sean. Sean makes a way out of no way, honey. And Shanita, did you mention my name? Because Sean is just so awesome. I don't get any kind of bonus from him or anything, but I just want him to know that I'm sending people his way. So maybe he'll give me, I don't know, a gift basket or something. So I want to say I used Demand Star and I did not have to pay. We're going to have a side conversation. You need to schedule something with me. That's another thing that I offer for all my students is you get free one-on-one calls with me. Okay. Right now I don't limit it because I want you guys to win. I want you guys to be my success stories. So you can reach out and do a 30-minute with me, you know, when you need it. And I answer questions via DMs or text pretty much every day. So that's something that I do offer to my students. I just really want y'all to win. I just put a lot of effort into this course. So obviously there has to be a price point there, right? So Danielle, no question. Thank you for your time and service and God bless your endeavors. Thank you so much, Danielle, and the same to you. Is it possible to do micro purchasing facility? Yes. I'm going to do a video about that, Shanita, because basically micro purchases, like Adrian was mentioning, is just you have a connection with an agency and they have a credit card and they want to purchase a service. So it could be something as simple as buffing the floors for $5,000. I saw one of my mentees as well. They had to remove hazardous bags into a dumpster and it was $3,500 and it took them like maybe 3 hours. So that was a micro purchase. Specific contract. Okay, so let me make sure I got lucky and met a good person at our local and National Women's Louisiana. I'm assuming, Adrian. And she meets with you weekly. That is fantastic. See, now that's the power of networking. That is the power of networking. So it may not always be you bidding. Adrian, I really want to converse with you because I really like how you're kind of navigating through this space. And all of you, you know, you guys can all find your way that you're going to do it. It's just sometimes it's multiple ways, you know. So William, I have a specific contract in mind that I would like to submit proposal for. I'm going to ask for assistance from the PTAC. It relates to structuring the proposal, possible pricing analysis and reaching out to primary contacts. So perfect. Yes. How do I need to write this? What needs to be first? That's exactly what you asked them. You're like, here it is. Here is a solicitation. Now let's work on it, right? Thank you, Shanita. This live will be posted. I know you came late. Lee, I think it's Lee. It's going to be posted in the Circle community, so you can go back and watch. Again, if you guys are interested in getting the course, you know it's no pressure over on my side. So, but it's up to you because I do teach you the 3-tier contracting. And so I put my my little code right here. I got like, I think 3 spots left, maybe 2, I don't know. And I'm doing the same goofy stuff that I did because I got my extra keyboard here. So that's why I'm thinking that I am typing. Flash 2023 is the code for the course. So if you haven't, so Shanita's giving me a shout out, so I'm gonna read it out loud. If you haven't joined her course is amazing. She is definitely vested in our success, and I recommend her course to all of you all. She lays it out for you and is organized very well. Thank you so much. I certainly appreciate that. Let me go ahead and do a, what's it called? A screen snippet. Because I don't know if I still can use this. So I'm going to capture that. And I really appreciate that, Shanita. Because, sometimes you be like, am I doing a good job? Because I just want people to win, right? So I appreciate that. Adrian, I plan on doing a call with you. I love your content and listen to everything you say. Like, seriously, I have my alerts on. Another one. I appreciate y'all. Y'all going to have me over here like a thug crying. You know what I'm saying? And we got 3 minutes. So if there's any last minute questions that you guys have, I'd be happy to answer them again. And if you want to schedule a call with me, please do. Everything, the link in my bio on Instagram. I think almost everybody here follows me on Instagram. If you follow me somewhere else, just drop it in the chat because I would like to know. But if you follow me on Instagram, my link is in my bio of my how to schedule a consultation, the course information. You guys have the code if you are interested. And you guys just, you can hit me up in my DMs. And if I have time, I will make sure that I respond. But I really, YouTube. Okay, yes, YouTube. How am I gonna forget about YouTube? So I appreciate you guys again. And next time we'll figure out how we're gonna do the sound because I would love to hear you guys' voices. And this has been fantastic and fun. And I really appreciate the questions and even the networking in-house. That's fantastic. You just never know where something might come about. So last call for alcohol. We got 1 more minute and then I'm going to end the stream. If you have any last minute questions. Again, I thank you. This video is going to be posted at the top of this of the Circle community. Tell your friends. It's free, right? It's free to join the Circle community. We're going to help each other in here. So if you are able to answer questions, like Shanita did me a solid the other day. Well, she didn't do me a solid. She did it for the community by utilizing like your mindset method, where just if you can do it, just think you can do it. Just jump out there. Now, it doesn't cost you anything but your time, unlike some other things that you do where it costs you a lot more. Go out there, look for a solicitation, and read it and submit it. Usually it's via email. So I really appreciate Shanita doing that and making sure that we're all trying to stay in a positive mindset. Even if you've been on a contract and lost, that's okay. It's just practice, okay? Like, what's his name? Allen Iverson says, just practice. You know what I'm saying? So I'm so happy. I love it. I'm glad you guys took notes. So that's it. We're at 7:30. I'll see you guys on the other side. Peace out.